Suicide Squad, man.
Suicide Squad.
I actually had a really good time with this movie.
Same here, man. Same here. Ooh, so good.
So we were having this discussion before we recorded, and apparently this is not a sequel. It's like a spiritual successor to the original movie.
No, it's a it's not even that. Nah. It's the Suicide Squad. That's what it is.
The Suicide Squad, which
Yeah.
is an idiotic thing to say. Be like, don't look at the old Suicide Squad. Don't look over there. Don't do it. We are the Suicide Squad. The other guy's a fake. It's just Suicide Squad. We're the Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
Get it right, buddy.
Everything is more important when you have the.
Yeah, I'm the Sage
start.
Goodwin.
Yeah.
You are the Eschathon films.
Exactly.
Talking a little bit about the previous Suicide Squad. How's that? Does that work?
I'd say talking about the previous Suicide Squad works. Yes.
Okay. There we go. I got to get approval.
Approval.
The previous Suicide Squad.
No.
Not the not the prequel. The previous Suicide Squad. I hated that movie so much.
That movie. No, thank you.
The only good thing about that movie was Will Smith.
Okay, I agree with that. Well, I liked
Diablo.
Will Smith, and I actually did enjoy Harley Quinn and Boomerang. But Will Smith was the one that sort of like kept me interested because of his character.
Yeah. I mean, he's just such a good actor that, like, you put him in any crappy film, he's going to be the best part of that film. And if you put him in a good film, he's going to be the best part of that film, too.
Oh, that's very true.
So we had the very crappy previous Suicide Squad movie. It's garbage, in my opinion. Very bland, didn't have a lot of flavor. It was kind of like some of the food I had in England.
Okay, so for the first movie, you could sort of say the one we got 2016, 17.
Good gosh.
I think that's when we
I think you're right.
Suicide Squad 2016. So what was the thing that was the least favorite for you?
I didn't like the overall story of it, I guess. The characters weren't that very motivated, very bland. I personally did not like Harley Quinn's character. I thought it was just a little too over the top, just very annoying. But I think not getting into the Suicide Squad yet, they did a great job with kind of portraying her character in a much better light, in my personal opinion. The previous movie felt more of like like one of those war movies that is just like super bland, and it's like, oh yeah, war bros doing war things.
A lot of the many new modern war movies these days that we get. Yeah, sure.
Exactly. That's how it feels for me. That's when I think about it in that light.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally see that. Overall, for you, the thing you disliked the most was just the setting.
Yeah, like they didn't really use the characters very well. They didn't have fun, which the comics of the Suicide Squad are fun. They're over the top. They're zany. They kind of like, these are all villains and they know they're going to die. So they're having some fun with it.
That's the best way to enjoy life, right?
Right. Yeah. You know you're going to die, so might as well enjoy.
Exactly. Maybe not to that extent, but, you know.
What about you? What are your thoughts with that movie?
My main problem with that movie is most of aside from the three characters that I already said, which I find to be, all right, which was obviously Deadshot, not Deadshot. Yes, Deadshot. Okay, Deadshot.
Yeah, it is Deadshot.
Yeah, okay. I was like that. I keep mixing between the DC one, Marvel, and which is.
And Slade Wilson.
Yeah, something like
the
that.
DC as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of accurate people here. But it's Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and a little bit of Boomerang. But I disliked the rest of the cast, and I did not like the main villain. So the main villain was the bigged problem for me in that movie. Just like the entire god powerhouse aspect of the story just didn't work for me because it carried no weight. It was just like when DC have this thing where they like to have shoot like gods as the main villains in the movies.
Yes.
And that kind of gets a little bit drained for me. And when I saw it in the first Suicide Squad, I was like, no, please come on. I want to see them fight maybe some super villain, but just more human like. I don't need some AFK superpower god to stand there and just scream weird names.
Blah, 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 blah.
It was weird for me. So that one that threw me off big time from the movie.
Yeah, like the villain was so bland, I forgot it.
You forgot it existed?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly. It's not exactly the most engaging villain, you can sort of say.
Yeah, there weren't really clear motivations there. There weren't really much to that villain other than, oh my gosh, it's going to destroy the world. Okay.
Destroy the world. Oh, where have we seen that before?
But without any motivations on why it's going to destroy the world, where it came from. There's no humanity because, it's a god.
There's no, okay. It's like, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
You do you, buddy. You do you, buddy. Yeah, so not a biggest fan of the previous Suicide Squad. But this movie, man, oh my gosh. I had some fun. And dude, they started off so gruesome. They're like, oh yeah, those characters that you saw in the previous movie, and even some new ones, we're going to just murder them viciously.
It's so beautiful. When I watched it and I saw the characters, I kind of started dropping a little bit away from following up with the trailers and pictures and stuff for the Suicide Squad. So when I saw all of these characters at the start, I thought we were going to have like a huge group.
Yeah,
and then I
did too.
One being picked off after the other and dying, and even some characters from the previous movie. And I'm like, what? Who's going to be? It's going to be the Suicide Squad here. But then I suppose this is literally the example of what a Suicide Squad is. They kind of. Fulfill their destiny by being the Suicide Squad at the start of the movie. And they were technically the distraction team. So, I don't know, but I loved it.
Fantastic filmmaking in terms of like, oh yeah, we're going to make you think this is the Suicide Squad because they're all with Harley. And
exactly right.
Harley's not going to die, so we know that for sure. And then everyone else proceeds to die.
Oh, man. That's just too funny. I don't know.
What was Nathan Fillion's character? What was his name? Like Detachment Man or something like that?
Yeah, that was KDT.
Oh yeah,
or something
TDK.
Like yeah, what?
Total Detachment Kid or something like that?
Yeah. How beautiful.
TDK. I was like, ew, no.
When I saw the arms just flying off, I was like, what? And then it started slapping people, and they're like, oh, let's go. Oh my god, it's so silly. That's what it is.
It was, and my gosh, dude, the just overall the film is so gruesome and gory. Like they earned that R rating easy within the first 5 minutes.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. There's no like James Gunn was thinking, you know what? I'm gonna go all on board here. I'm just gonna have a little bit of that spice R-rated fun. No questions asked.
It's so freaking good, man. Like if you ever wondered what a DC movie made by a Marvel director is, and you're wondering, is that a good idea? It's a fantastic idea. It is a great idea because we've got some of the blandness that we've had in the previous DC entries. Like, Man of Steel had a good idea, executed very poorly, very bland. Batman v Superman tried to do the Avengers way too quickly. Justice League, not very good. Not overall subpar films. They tried to kind of do the checkbox where we have this thing, and we put them all together. But why don't people like it? Well, it's because you went through a list of things to add in this movie, and you never had any real like character arcs or motivation or anything like that. But this movie has clear direction, and it has that really fun James Gunn vibe to it. Like, he's not trying to do a Guardians of the Galaxy. He's using these characters in very unique ways, and he's actually highlighting some of the past of the Suicide Squad with introducing the title card sequences, very comic book style, which I really appreciated. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, interesting. And I thought it was going to be like a one-off thing, but it continued through the film, and I really enjoyed it.
It reminds me, because you mentioned Marvel, and when I was watching the movie throughout, I got basically a Deadpool feeling. And I'm a big Deadpool fan.
You are.
Yes. So when I saw it, James Gunn definitely took some inspiration from Tim Miller and Ryan. Oh my God, Ryan Reynolds, and in how they use this gore and action, and I don't know, it felt very similar, but in a very good way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was just something that I picked up right away. Did you pick that up?
I did too, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I was kind of getting some Deadpool vibes as well. Certain things that they did, and just kind of like the lightheartedness, but also very gruesome. And Deadpool set the standard for what an R-rated superhero movie can be, honestly.
I 100% agree with that, 100%.
So yeah, I'm right there with you on the kind of the Deadpool vibes of this movie.
One of the things here which I find very fascinating about this movie compared to the other one is that I actually felt that the characters here had a character arc behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was something to invest yourself in these characters. So I think the reason why we could do this is that the first movie tried to have so many characters that you were supposed to focus on. I can't remember. It's like 7 people or something like that. 7 or 8 people.
I think it is the same amount, or very close to the same amount that we got in this movie, but they just did it in a much better way in this film, because like they tried to make a story arc with all of the characters combined. Like, everyone had the same character arc, but this one they had individual character arcs for each each member of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, there's some of them which are a little bit like, okay, so you have Peacemaker, right? Like, you don't know where he comes from or why he's so obsessed with peace. But one of the things which makes his character so unique and special is because he talks about being all peaceful and all that kind of stuff. But then he literally tells and says, like, well, I do anything for peace, and I would destroy like any human being for peace or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote, but
if I had to eat a whole field for peace and justice, I would. Why do you even want to do that? I'm just saying, if it needed to happen for peace and freedom, I would do that. That's disgusting.
You see, he has a very distinct character, but throughout the movie, you see he contradicts himself all the time. Sort of with the peace. I don't know if you remember when they go to the that freedom fighter village.
Yeah.
And he goes around and stabs people while they're sleeping and doing all these crazy things. I don't see much peaceful in that.
Exactly. But I love how they set up his character too to be kind of basically a mirror of Bloodsport. Like, they basically say, they introduce Idris Elba's character, Bloodsport, and
I love that character.
They say, he's so good, and we'll get to him later on, but they're like, oh yeah, this is Bloodsport. He was raised, his parents were like mercenaries and was trained from a young age to be one of the most vicious killing machines, and then they introduce Peacemaker, and it's the exact same introduction.
Anything Bloodsport holds can be used as a weapon. It's like saying the same thing to Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's just me right there. It's like, it's so good. That mirror kind of works well because throughout the movie, they slowly divide, where you have obviously the parenthood with Idris Elba's character. I keep missing the names all the time now. I don't know what's happening with me here.
Yeah. Bloodsport and Ratcatcher.
Yeah, Bloodsport. So Bloodsport and Ratcatcher, they develop a relationship, and basically right at the end, you have Peacemaker who is detaching. So they go kind of the opposite way, right? Because John Cena, he starts, or the Peacemaker starts with making friends, and Bloodsport is sort of detaching himself, and it goes the opposite direction by the end of the movie. Like they go in reverse.
And you see kind of the over the top, like very heavily focused on the muscular aspect and just being super, what is the word I'm looking for?
Ripped,
or just like really over the top, very like superfluous. Like this guy is like going for looks and intimidation, while Idris Elba's character, while very strong, very ripped and muscular, is focused more on the execution versus
style.
the execution. Yeah, the style of it. Like he's gonna get the kill done, and it's not gonna be as over the top as John Cena, but it's going to be just as skillful.
No one likes a show off.
Exactly.
Okay, what is the number one thing that you enjoy the most about Bloodsport? Because he's my favorite character in the movie.
Oh yeah. How can you not love the guy?
Yeah.
The character arc of him kind of like not wanting to be a part of the Suicide Squad, and then getting manipulated into it. And I mean, I just love the subtle changes to his character and growing into the group and being a part of all of it. And just the way Idris Elba plays his character is such a fantastic direction, I think, in terms of like, he's doing the job, he's there to fulfill what needs to be done. And then we see kind of as the opportunity arises to use to not be the guinea pig, that be the guinea pig or the sheep, all the way going to fulfill the mission and just reveal that information, saying I've uploaded this to the secure cloud, and if you do anything, like it's getting released, buddy.
What was that government woman called again? Amanda. Is it Amanda?
Is it Waller?
Amanda Waller?
Is that right? I think so.
I think it's Amanda Waller. Yeah,
yep,
it's Amanda
Waller.
Waller. Yeah.
Look at us go.
When she was just standing there screaming. Just getting and just getting knocked out like that.
Yes.
It's crazy. I love that.
It's so good. I really appreciated the kind of the inner workings of the people, the government agents kind of in charge of the Suicide Squad program, really taking charge and saying, yo, you're out of line, and then just hits her with the freaking golf club.
Just, oh man. Okay. I just found something here. It's quite funny. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but so Sean Gunn, basically brother of James Gunn, plays Weasel. That wolf rat thing. What a way to put that on your brother.
That is hilarious.
Oh yes, I love it.
So good. I mean, just the characters in this are so good. King Shark, fantastic character. Oh my gosh, hilarious.
Which was played by Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
It's like, what?
Voiced by Sylvester Stallone. Oh my gosh, so good. Bird.
Bird. Oh, I felt sorry for him all the time, but I also just loved him. It's
yeah.
So good.
I'm going to use a disguise too.
Mustache.
That is the worst fake mustache I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, damn it. It's like a little child who's, the thing is, he struggles with depression from loneliness, but then he tries to eat people, but he's also very friendly and lovely and playful, trying to make his way in the universe with his new friends.
Yes. After trying to eat one of them.
Which was Ratcatcher.
Yes, which I really liked her motivations in the story. It doesn't really make sense that she got put into that specific prison
They didn't really explain what she was doing there, but I think that maybe that's a little bit on why they did that, because you have the blood sport stuff. And when she was sitting in the bus and saying that, can't you believe that they considered having rats stealing this stuff, and then they took her to the prison, for that. That's kind of absurd. And that was basically like what Bloodsport faced with his daughter, where she was stealing one watch and she might go to prison, like a really dangerous prison for life, just for stealing a watch. So I think that's the connection they tried to make there. That's what I picked up, at least.
Yeah, I didn't pick it up, but I now that you pointed it out, that's definitely what they were trying to do.
So
they were connecting the dots there.
They're connecting the dots and the relevancy. But I did really like Ratcatcher, like, as the character.
I did too. Yeah, super super well done. Also, Taika Waititi played her dad, Ratcatcher 1.
I saw that. I was like, no! When he died in that flashback, I was like, that's Taika Waititi. He's like, no!
Yeah. I love the character of Ratcatcher and kind of the humanity she brings to the movie.
Like, she didn't use the rats that much. Like, I thought she would be going to use the rats a lot more during combat. It's pretty much like one or twice we see her use it, like in regular combat, and then like obviously at the ending, she uses it a lot. But they focused mainly on her just being one of the, I would sort of say, a catalyst throughout the movie to help support Bloodsport, but also carry her own story a little bit. Mm-hmm. I feel like Bloodsport and her were the main people in the movie.
Yeah. Another character I really liked the whole like arc for was Polka Dot Man. When they announced that Polka Dot Man was going to be in this, I was like,
no way.
What? How are they going to make that work? And it's like when they first introduced the characters, like, okay, what's going on here? And then when he first uses his abilities, it's like, okay, I see what's going on here. I know, I see why they put him in this movie. And then the whole idea of like he sees his mother around everywhere is just hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Poor soul. Imagine being so angry that wherever you go, you get hallucinations of your mother being like all the enemies just so you can kill her. That's
that one scene where he's like, I see her everywhere, and then all of the other members of the Suicide Squad are her, and it's like the one that got me the most was the King Shark.
Yeah. I started laughing big time when I saw that.
Same.
Oh, that was so good. What did you think about the entire sort of what's his name again? His name is Peter Capaldi. Capaldi?
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
Capaldi.
Doctor Who, I mean.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think about his character?
I really liked it. I think they did a really good job of humanizing him and kind of giving. I don't understand the whole head thing.
Never understood that
fully. I can't remember in the comics what his character is and like what the specialty is there. But like in the flashbacks, he only had a few. Maybe it's some kind of like brain disease thing. I'm not 100%. I haven't looked into it further than that. But I really liked his character and kind of the understanding and the realization of he was tasked to do this by the government. The very which is why they didn't want him to get killed in the first place. Mm-hmm. Like they say, oh, we're gonna kill him. No. You're not going to kill him. You're going in and wiping this information. It's like, okay.
Okay.
We see how this is going to go. And the whole, like, he's just so twisted.
Twisted and strange. Twisted and strange. I do like his character, actually. And his sort of, what you kind of said already, the twisted, dark mind. But he gives that feeling of a scientist who feel like everyone gave up around him in a way, and he's kind of left with his one single project that he's done for 30 years, which, in a lot of movies you see that you have that one scientist who's a little bit crazy and been focusing on one thing for decades, and then people around him is a little bit like, what? But then you see like these zombie starfish people being cut in half and still alive and all that kind of things, and he's being very realistic about it. Like, no, they're just corpses underneath there. They are just like, you have to do this for science. And he didn't sound evil when doing it. He sounded passionate, like serious and passionate, which I kind of appreciated because he gave him not like a villain perspective. He just gave him like a very passionate scientist who just want to survive and doesn't want to mess up anything. That's all.
I could see that, yeah. But I think there's one thing where the starfish said he had his way with us. It's like, oh no, there's some weird stuff going on too. Like there is some of that twistedness. Like he's like, his main focus is to kind of figure out what's going on, but he's also like, okay, yep, this dude's insane as well.
Oh, passion doesn't mean that you're not insane. That's for sure. But he was clearly a crazy man, an insane man. We don't really know, like the starfish, as you said, like the starfish, he had his way with us. I don't think the starfish appreciated being attached to a body and then he cuts them in half, and or doing research on them in general.
Yeah.
So, and you could probably, as you saw later on in the movie, the starfish, they do communicate and talk. They could feel things. Yeah, I for me, I'm going to give him the mad scientist, but who's not necessarily like evil per se. I won't give him the evil title. I give him a cruel title.
Yep. Cruel, twisted.
Yeah. Who would be an evil scientist in the DC universe? Okay, that one woman from Wonder Woman that works at the camp. That's an evil scientist.
Oh man. I haven't watched that movie in forever. I was trying to go through like my Batman knowledge.
Yeah, I somehow just landed on that woman. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Then you have the biggest of them all, the giant starfish villain, because that's the villain of the movie. Yeah. I would say, you have the cartels. What do you call them? Cartels? The presidents, I suppose.
Yeah, the kind of twisted government.
The twisted dictatorship government, and then you have the Patrick. Patrick once again rules the universe.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit from the movie first. You have the guy that was hooking up with Harley Quinn.
Yes.
I was really hoping not for them to start hooking up and Harley Quinn would start to change, and then it was going to be a conflict at the end of the movie. I was like, when he got shot after they had a good time, I was thinking, yes. And then she had a great speech afterwards.
Yeah.
Fantastic speech afterwards. I was like, that's a great choice for a movie. I like that. Mm-hmm. Subvert expectations the right way.
Yes, exactly. I think Harley Quinn's character, we haven't really touched on it, but she did like really good motivations there. I think her story arc was really good. Like you said, she kind of just changing perspective and seeing things a little bit differently after the Joker. And I like too how they didn't really mention the Joker at all, and they focused on Harley Quinn as a character herself rather than being overshadowed by this other villain.
I don't think they really wanted to highlight Joker, because if they did, that would take away from Harley and her character, because they've always had like this relationship. And so if you associate her with Joker once again, it's going to be like, oh, cliche. But this time, her experience could technically be, she could be speaking about anything, and it's up to the viewers to just link it to a character they want to link it to, if they want to link it to anything.
Yeah.
Other than that, what she explains, like when she stands there and tells her story, I felt that. I totally could, like, not necessarily relate to what she was talking about, but I could understand fully what she was trying to express. And due to her character, she's always this happy and excited girl, clumsy and all that. But then you also see the sadness in her that she's trying to cover over.
Yeah.
And that came out when she had that speech.
There is, like you said, that kind of hidden sadness. There is that deeper kind of not really noticed even by her feelings, kind of just being overshadowed by the Joker. And I really appreciated that they didn't take it that direction when they so easily could. and really taking her character in a really interesting direction. And I love the whole thing where she had the javelin. It's like, I don't know what to do with this, but I know I should have this.
Oh.
I also appreciate that Michael Rooker was in this movie too. Like this is basically like this movie is James Gunn playing in the DC universe, bringing all of his friends with him, and having a fun time in the sandbox. Honestly,
This is a giant sandbox movie.
it
It's
is.
a massive sandbox movie. And I don't know. I sat there at the end of the movie and I thought, you know what? I would appreciate a sequel to this.
I would too. I think there's some more stories that could be told in the world of the Suicide Squad.
I wouldn't mind seeing more of the same characters as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like having them return.
Yeah, I'd love to see the same characters, and I would love to see James Gunn come back again too, because I think his view of that world is really, really well done. My only concern with that would be the next movie he just murders everybody again and starts over. Because we saw that clear arc with the characters, and I wonder if, I think it was just Bloodsport saying, "Hey, don't come after us and leave my daughter alone," not that shut down the whole program. But like, how is that program gonna work? And they did set it up for a sequel with Peacemaker coming back, and which I think it's good for the story, but it's all super frustrating too. It's like, come on, Bloodsport losing his ability to kill someone in one shot. Come on, you cheapened it. Don't do it. Also, like Rick Flag, man, his character was so good, and I really appreciated it. And I think it was really good motivation for the turning of Peacemaker as well.
Peacemaker.
That scene where Peacemaker shoves that like shard of ceramic into his heart. Oh my gosh.
That one was intense. That was to Rick Flag.
Yes.
Yeah. I the thing is, with the background that we have from Rick Flag, from which basically was one of the more stable characters in the first movie.
Yes.
And then you see him
so
here.
it is the first movie.
Yeah, and then you see him here in this movie. Oh, stop it. and then you see her in this movie. I reference as first in regards to date.
The previous Suicide Squad movie, man.
In regards
Get it right.
to release date, all right? But Rick Flag, and also I've seen his character. I really liked him when he was doing that. What was that Netflix show called again? The cyber one. The one that when he is the main character in the first season.
I don't know if I've seen the one you're talking about.
It's a big series.
He was in RoboCop.
Not RoboCop. Oh my God, why is this so difficult?
Altered Carbon.
Yes.
There we go.
There you go. And I really liked him in Altered Carbon. And then when I saw his heart getting pierced through in like 3D, something we really haven't seen in movies before that way. Like last time I saw something like that was playing like Sniper Elite. If you ever play that.
I have not played that.
You shoot people with snipers, and then you see the bullet goes through the sky, and then if you hit like a critical hit, basically, you see the bullet pierce through, and you see it inside of the organs, and you see it destroys the inside of the organs. That hit me hard, that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, Peacemaker, what a joke. It's like, ouch.
Uh-huh.
Ouch.
So good. This movie, man, it just did such a great job with the characters, and I really appreciate it. And like I wasn't going into this movie, like I had really low expectations for this movie. I did not enjoy the previous Suicide Squad movie, and I just low expectations, and I think that definitely helped the movie a lot, but I think the movie just as a whole really stands out as a fun, violent romp in the DC universe.
I think I'm going to say this might be my favorite, like, in this DC movie aside from the Warner Bros. Nolan universe.
I would agree.
I haven't had one DC movie where I have sat down, laughed, had a good time like this one.
Yeah.
Like, this one made me
100%.
literally have a really good time. And I felt for all the characters and like, oh, nice. It was great. It's not perfect, but it was
No.
great. It was great.
It was. Yeah. I think they did a really good job. My rating was probably like an 8.5 if I was going to give it a rating out of 10.
Rating out of 10. Yeah, I would say about 8.5 if we're to 10 for the movie. I think for me where it dropped off was that although the squid thing was cool, I did not care for it much. It was a bit like too much for me. At the final, I'm talking about the final fight. It was just like
Yeah.
another block going and destroying things. But luckily, they kind of used that to develop the characters around. It wasn't just like fight. It was like actually developing the characters in the meantime while the squid was going around destroying things.
Mm-hmm.
So the squid was more like an obstacle rather than a something that was very focused on.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I really appreciated the Patrick the Starfish. I'm going to call him that way. I loved the final thing. And it was like I was happy floating in space looking at stars. It's like,
oh, yeah.
Ending off on that note. Oh my gosh. It's like I didn't do any of this. This was not my intention. You did this. I was happy floating in space looking at stars.
Yeah, it's like an insult to the humankind. Like, you just took me out of space and started researching me for what? Why? I'm going to use you as a weapon. How rude. I did not see when Harley Quinn was going to run into that. Like, I did not see that coming. I saw her jumping with the spike?
Javelin, actually.
The javelin. Yeah, the javelin. And maybe like attach herself to the squid. Not the squid, the starfish.
Mm-hmm.
And but then she just went straight into the eye. I was like, oh, all right, that's pretty cool. And I just liked that scene. And I was fearful for the rats because I didn't want the rats to die inside the eye. But
I know.
they survived.
I was like, no, not the rats. Come on, guys.
I don't want to see the rats die inside the eyes. But luckily they were all safe and they got out. Especially that main rat, the one on the shoulder.
Yeah, Sebastian.
I want the Sebastian on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Soldier Sebastian on the shoulder. Yes. Oh,
so
that would
good.
be beautiful.
But yeah, I think overall, like ending off this episode, a really good movie. Highly recommend it. Go in with expectations of kind of like, okay, yeah, we're going in for a fun romp. It's going to be very gruesome. It is R-rated, but it did such a great job, and I really appreciated it.
R-rated for really fun.
Yep.
That's
really
that's
fun and really gruesome.
Oh, yes. I love it. So all I have to say is, James Gunn, we need a second movie. Bring it on.
Yep. When he's done doing the Christmas special of Guardians of the Galaxy, he needs to go back and make another Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I assume they're going to make another one.
They got it. Like this one was successful. Compared to the other one, this one's successful. So given all the ratings that, from what I've seen at least, but given all the ratings that we've got so far, and it's on IMDb, got the 7.5, which is really good for IMDb.
Yeah, it's got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. So, and then what was the first one? IMDb, the first Suicide Squad had a 5.1. That's horrible.
And it had a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes.
So it shows that this movie here is definitely going to do a lot better. It might be a little bit hurt because the reputation, the name Suicide Squad might be hurt from the first movie, but so we'll see, because the first movie got a 756 million in box office, which is pretty high.
Yeah, pretty high, just a little bit.
Just a little pocket money, but we'll see how it turns out. I definitely think that we should get a second movie for sure.
I think we will.
I think this movie is going to do well enough in box office that maybe not beat the original one, because that one's all hype. And this one wasn't, like just you and I, we ignored most of this movie and had low expectations because of the last movie. And so we're not the only one. And
yeah, I wasn't even going to watch this movie. Like, honestly, I wasn't going to watch this movie. But we were like, hey, we should kick off something with the podcast. And it's like, you know what? I would like to watch, maybe. Like, I wanted to watch it, but was I ever going to dedicate the time to sit down and watch it? No. So we did it on this podcast, and I'm really glad we did so.
Absolutely a great choice. Happy we did it. And I'm not going to complain.
Exactly.
I'm hoping to do a podcast where we talk about the second movie.
Yes, I hope we get to that point. If there is another movie, we will definitely be covering it on this podcast.
In 3 years.
In 3 years, probably. Maybe even longer than that. We'll see. But with that, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Uplink Cinema, the podcast.
Oh,
definitely consider subscribing to us on YouTube. And that is the home for this podcast. We thank you all so much for listening. Hit the like if you enjoyed this podcast. Hit the dislike if you did not. What are your thoughts on Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad? And let me know why you hated the previous movie, the previous Suicide Squad.
Not if you liked it or not. Just let me know.
No. Yeah, what you disliked about it. I mean, the audience score, over 100,000 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, was 59%.
That's bad.
Which is very bad. Usually, like, the critics' score will be really low, and then the audience score will be pretty high. Nope. Like, even the audience didn't like that one. But yeah, let us know. We'll catch you in another episode of Uplink Cinema, the podcast.